Western and spaghetti westerns, often confused to be synonymous, are two distinct film genres that both complement each other. Westerns hail from the USA and often portray clear hero and villains, inspired by American manifest destiny and a desire for justice among the frontier, evident by films such as High Noon, which depict a clear hero like Marshal Will Kane, that battles and defeats a villainous outlaw like Frank Miller. Spaghetti westerns, in contrast, are Italian films, hence the spaghetti, that reflect Italian disillusionment from social and economic hardship because of World War II with the previously fascist government. Spaghetti westerns filmmakers weren't afraid of addressing ideas like corruption and vengeance, knowing the lines of good and bad by featuring morally great protagonists who acted out of their own self-interest rather than for the greater good. This defining factor that both genres have in common is their symbolism for the unknown and desire for change and expansion. Ringo's premiere in the late 2000s was marked by a period of disillusionment within Americans because of the internet, exposing people to global issues like climate change from all over the world. What makes the two films such an interesting comparison is their unique role in the spaghetti western genre. Rango is simultaneously a parody and an homage to both genres, by its combination of tropes and conventions from both genres, and its unique message of climate change, which is seldom seen in other spaghetti westerns, let alone in animation. A Fistful of Dollars is the spaghetti westerns, and it set the expectations convention for spaghetti westerns to come. Both films feature morally ambiguous protagonists, similar mise-en-scène, and a rich soundscape in order to discuss the nature of greed and the disillusionment audiences felt at the time because of the cultural context at the time of the film's release.
Rango and the Man with No Name are both depicted as morally ambiguous, but not in the same manner. Rango's manipulation of the townfolk is driven by his own desires and insecurities of possessing fame and respect. A chameleon in nature changes himself to blend in from the environment and to hide from predators, and that's exactly what Rango does. Verbinski's characterization of Rango as a cowardly protagonist serves as an homage to classic spaghetti westerns, fulfilling the trope, but it also reflects Verbinski's intentions in discussing the concept of identity and leadership. Painting Rango as a blank canvas who is painted by his environment to be a brave and noble hero conveys to the viewer that identity is not born with, rather discovered through trial and tribulation. Rango's emergence as a leader who fought against the mayor who hoarded and controlled all the water for him and his oligarchy is a message to the viewer, urging audiences to take a stance just as Rango did against the modern powers that dominate and control the basic resources that we as humans need. While not in complete contrast, the Man with No Name has different motivation. His goals of manipulating both families, the Rojos and Baxters, is driven by monetary values, but he too eventually changes his mind to help to victimize towards the end of the film. Leon's characterization of the Man with No Name reflects the attitude of Italians who felt there was nothing more to life, that a code of ethics was redundant. Leon's progression of the Man with No Name to a person who ends up acting in the interest of others is a message to the general population of disillusioned Italians that despite living in the most devastating war known to mankind, hope and kindness shall always prevail. The mise-en-scène, particularly the setting, of both films work to convey the consequence human greed has on those who are on the receiving ends of such a transaction. Leon follows the typical Western mise-en-scène of drab colors, barren landscape, and rugged clothing, but with the purpose of displaying a town caught in the crossfire of two rival gangs suffering from their greed. San Miguel is a town that is dry, with walls made of decaying wood and the infrastructure of the town screaming that it's been forgotten and neglected, reflecting the moral decay and landscape of post-fascist Italy. The costuming of the three major powers within the film, being the Man with No Name, the Baxters, and the Rojos, serve to illustrate to the viewer what kind of role each party plays in the greater conflict. The Man with No Name wears a dusty poncho, a wide-brimmed hat, and the iconic scruffy boots with spurs, not the most elegant costume one could sport at the time. In contrast, the Rojos and Baxters wear high-quality, more refined cloth, which serve two purposes. A. It shows that despite their acclaimed differences and rivalries, their obsession with wealth and their persecution of the innocent and weak makes them one and the same. And B. It paints the Man with No Name as an outsider as his scrappier clothes clash with the more elegant clothing of the two gangs. In the context of post-fascist Italy, the poor, ordinary Italian is the Man with No Name, someone confused and unsure of the environment they're in, only looking to facilitate their own needs and doing what it takes to get by. The two gangs represent the rich aristocrats and elites in the aftermath of World War II, people who prioritize their own wants at the expense of the needs beneath them. Similarly, the town of Dirt and Rango is barren and dry, smack dab in the middle of a wasteland. While building a town in the middle of a desert will lead to difficulties with water conservation due to the very nature of a desert, the mayor's action of hoarding the water alongside his cronies greatly limits the potential of the town and its livelihood. It's a direct metaphor for real-life situations such as the California water wars, in which farmers from Owen Valley had their water diverted to Los Angeles, the justification being that LA's current water supplies couldn't support the rapidly growing city. Verbinski beckons the viewer to contemplate how cities will thrive without water, and what communities and society will do without steady access to water in the increase of global warming.
Sound is another crucial tool utilized by both directors, but they both serve different purposes in their design. A Fistful of Dollars sound design is sparse and scarce, employed as a weapon in tense and dramatic scenes such as the final standoff. Ennio Morricone inspired the spaghetti western soundscape with his classic music featuring Spanish bells, whistling, and gunshots, which continue to be heard in modern westerns such as Rango. Rango is similar in the sense of its score, paying homage to that classic Morricone music with the whistling, gunshots, and banjo, but unlike A Fistful of Dollars, Rango is quite dialogue heavy, which allows for the characterization of Rango and other key characters to be more direct and head-on. The ambient noise of Dirt also gives the town a sense of livelihood, despite the mayor's attempt to bury it in the dirt, pun intended. Showcasing the resilience that people of the community can and will showcase in the face of harsh circumstances. All in all, both films feature morally ambiguous protagonists, similar mise-en-scène, and a rich soundscape in order to discuss the nature of greed and the disillusionment audiences felt at the time because of the cultural context at the time of the film's release.